Hello, everyone. My name is Elijah Kalma, and for my midterm project, I will be doing it on Twitter and everything that has to do with Twitter. So let's get right into it. So, Twitter, how did it start? How did it begin? And how is it going? Well, it all started back in 2006 when a man named Jack Dorsey was a part of a social media network called Odeo. Odeo. You might be asking me what Odeo is. Well, this is basically where Twitter started. Odeo was a streaming service where you could stream your favorite podcast from your computer. This was a good idea, and it lasted like a few years until Apple released iTunes, where you could basically stream like songs and especially podcasts from their network. This was bad for Audio because that would mean that since iTunes was more popular, that people from Audio would switch into iTunes. So the head of Audio had all of their workers pitch ideas on what they could turn Audio into. A young man that went by the name of Jack Dorsey pitched an idea where you could send cute little funny text messages to your friends who were like in a group chat. Everyone in the company loved this idea. So for the next year, they started working more on this idea on just sending little messages to each other. Only people who used this network were people who were in the company, like who were inside Odeo. They first called it Twitter, but it's the regular Twitter, but they just removed the vowels, so it was just TWTTR. And finally, on that fateful day, in the middle of summer in 2006, Twitter was public to the whole internet and for everyone to use. So, Twitter's logo. Well, first, Twitter went by the name of TWTTR without the vowels, like I said in the previous slide, which it was green. I don't know what they were trying to go for in the green one, but it was like dark green going to with a W, just a light green, and then back to dark green. And that went from 2005 all the way up to 2006. The start of 2006 started a new era for Twitter, ditching all the green and went with a more light blue colorway. They also changed the fonts altogether, and to me, this one actually looks really nice. In 2010, they decided to stick with the same logo, same font, same colorway, same everything. The only difference between the one in 2010 and 2006 is that they decided to add a bird at the end. The bird at the end designates as its tagline, and to me, it's a good idea because Twitter kind of sounds like like a bird. So it's good that they added a bird so that it would be like if you were to see like a blue bird on the internet, it would automatically it would come to your head as Twitter. In 2012, they removed Twitter altogether, just leaving the bird. So, what can you do on Twitter? Well, Twitter has many features that you can do that other social medias cannot really do. Well, for starters, you could basically make a tweet, or what people in Twitter say, tweeting a tweet. A tweet is basically it could be a photo, you can make a message, doesn't really matter, or you can respond with a GIF. When you post a tweet, it goes on something called the Twitter feed. When you post a tweet, it goes on something called your Twitter feed, and your Twitter feed basically consists of tweets from people that you follow and etc. like that, or it could be recommended too. People who follow you, your followers, can see your tweet and can also interact with it with either a photo, an image, or a GIF. Another feature that Twitter has, and something that I think is really unique because not a lot of other social media sites use, is something called retweeting. Retweeting is basically you seeing a tweet from, let's say your Twitter feed, some that you follow. You want to share that tweet with other people, and instead of sending it individually to your messages, you could just retweet it and it will go on your timeline for others to see. A feature that I think every single social media network has is sending a direct message to individual users. With this, you could basically send each other cool little tweets and just talk about, I don't know, your day or whatever. Another feature that I think everyone has in common with Twitter, the other social media networks, is called bookmarks. Bookmarks is basically a place where you could save tweets that you want to save for the long run. For example, let's say you see a tweet and you laugh at it so hard and you want to show your dad later in like 2 days because that's the next time you'll see him. Instead of just screenshotting the tweet, you can save it to your bookmarks, and then when the 2 days are up, you could show it to him there. Now, a unique feature that I noticed on Twitter, and I actually just found out about this a day ago when I was doing research on this project, but it's basically that When you're tweeting a tweet, you only have up to 180 characters a limit per tweet. Now this means that even spaces count and like numbers, like basically you can only type only 280 times per one tweet. And the last feature that I will talk about that Twitter has is more like this is more like a for you page like on TikTok. But for this one shows like what's trending. Like it will show like a for you trending or like what's actually trending. Like for me on Twitter, I look at a lot of basketball um post. So like for my for you page trending, it'll show like more like basketball and like I love rap, so it'll show like what rappers are up to. And on the trending page, it'll show like what's like trending now. So right now I'm looking at the trending page, and it shows here that Tom Brady says he's returning to the NFL, and it's talking about the recent Batman movie and stuff like that. It also has new like news, sports, entertainment, and it's really interesting because like whenever you see like a for you page on like let's say Instagram, like for Instagram they have a discover page and for TikTok they have a for you page. They normally just talk about one thing while Twitter has like a wide selection. Now moving on to the next section of the project, which is about the financial situation that Twitter is in. Looking at the Twitter stock at a 5 year span, there have only been like two times that the stock has peaked. If we go back to July 6, 2018, the stock rose from $14 all the way up to $46.65. Now this is the from like looking at a 5 year span, this is the like probably the first time that it's peaked in the span of 5 years. The second time it peaked was at $66. Oh, my bad, sorry. $77.06 when that happened in February 26, 2021. Right now, the stock is sitting at $32, and to me, that's not really that high. So, the stock for Twitter is not really that something that you should really invest in. To me, I'd rather invest in something that's like bigger companies than Twitter. Now, when using Twitter, there's a lot of pros and cons to using Twitter. So here are the pros. The pros of using Twitter is that it's very funny and like very entertaining to use. There have been a lot of nights where I've stayed up until 4 a.m. just looking at Twitter and just laughing when I should be sleeping. And sometimes my parents would go into my room wondering what I'm laughing about and I'd get in trouble. A second pro that I thought of when doing this project when using Twitter is that when you use Twitter, it's easy and really fast to get your news from because Twitter is like it's updated very quickly. An example of this is, for example, I'll be on like jogging or like walking at the park, and then I get a notification from Twitter about basketball that Kobe Bryant was traded, and like it'll be really instant and like I'll check other news sources like on Instagram and like they would post it like 10 minutes later compared to Twitter, which Twitter would be posted right away. The last pro that I could think of when using Twitter is you could meet people from around the world, and a lot of people that I've met from around the world have been like nice on Twitter, and I've got to know them easily, and I've actually met like two of them locally in Vegas, and we've had a good time, and they're a lot of like good friends. Now, the first thing that I really did not like about Twitter was how it's really hard to use. I've had Twitter for about 5 years now, and the first 2 years of me having Twitter, I really did not like it because I didn't really understood what Twitter was, and I didn't really understand how to use it because it took me a long time to figure out where the bookmark tweet was and where my like followers button was and like how to view my actual account. And I was like really lost until I actually had to like watch a video on how to use Twitter. And after that video, I was like half on how to use it. The second con that I really don't like about Twitter is I feel like this could also apply to other social media outlets out there, and it's the amount of scammer bots that are on the app. Scammer bots are usually like fake accounts set up as people trying to get you to click on links so that they would steal your bank account information. And I've seen a lot on Twitter, and I feel like there isn't really a way how to fix it because you can't really tell who's a bot and who's not. And I feel like this is a solution that will never get fixed in the social media realm. Now, the last thing I really do not like about Twitter is how there's only a 280 character limit. And that limit also contains spaces, because there have been many times where I've wanted to write long paragraphs or just long rants about like I said before, I'm a basketball fan, like about basketball and like how I want to tweet at someone, but it consists of multiple like words. So the only solution I found to do is under your tweet, reply to yourself and continue there. But like I feel like that's a hassle when you could just like tweet all in one thing. And I don't know why Twitter doesn't allow you to have more than 280 characters, which is really annoying to me. Now, here are some tips on how to create an effective profile on Twitter. The first thing I could think about when it comes to tips for Twitter is basically don't fall for scammers, because there have been a lot of people who have gained a big amount of following and a big like popularity on Twitter just for them to click one little link and for their account to be hacked. So one thing is don't click links that you don't trust. Second tip is always be on your Twitter account. Always leave messages or always leave tweets under people's tweets so that people would find you easily. When people find you easily and you always like reply positively on other people's tweets, they would enjoy that. So they would go on your tweets and follow your account and be engaged with your tweets. The last tip that I can think of making an effective profile is try adding people you know already from your contacts, because there's a setting where you could like connect your contacts to your Twitter account and will open up possibilities of like your friends liking your tweets and them sharing it to make your tweets go viral.